Hi there, my name is Stevie Ritchie and welcome to Mind Over Matter TV. This is episode 4. Mind Over Matter TV is all about mental health, and of course mental health affects us in so many different ways, mentally, physically, and of course in everyday life. I for one all know about it because I've had it and are due to having it many years ago. Today we're joined by two amazing guests that I know really well through up and down through the years of social media and talking to each other, keeping up with each other's stories on our life, and they're here today to talk about mental health. So please welcome the one and only Craig and Deb, aka Zed and Sapphire. So first of all, I want to come to the lovely Craig here that I've known for so many years. I mean, he did voice note me on WhatsApp yesterday, and I was totally shocked by it, but obviously I want to hear more. No doubt you obviously do as well. So I want to come to you first, Craig.
Yeah.
Tell us, Craig, about your journey, your mental health history and everything else.
Yeah. Well, it all began when we were out shopping one day, just the two of us, on our day off from doing the entertainment side of things, and we bumped into one of my sisters, two stepsisters, and she came up to me and she said to myself and Debs, I've got news for you. And we said, what is it? And she said, did you hear about Sandra, my sister? What about her? What's wrong with her? Is she all right? No, she died. And I said, what do you mean she died? She's young, how can she die? And she said, well, she took her own life. And I said, nah, I said, Sandra wouldn't do that. Sandra was a singer, you see, she was in the entertainment world, and she helped us a lot in her early days in music, and I couldn't take to it, what she told me, and I said, you have to tell me what happened, I need to know. She said, well, she had mental health problems, she had a lot of abuse in the family and stuff like that, from a partner and stuff, and she says, but we don't know what side of it is to do with him. But the most important thing is she's not here anymore. And I says, why did nobody come and see me? I've been on a TV a hell of a lot of times. You know how to reach me. You can go through an agency, you go through a TV company, somebody would find me. You know, and everybody knows where we live in Edinburgh. So nobody came and found us. No family members, nothing. And then I started, says, what happened? I need the details now. She said, it'll shock you though. Well, tell me. She said, well, Sandra, she went out very late hours in the night, shops are all shut, etc., and she went in a phone box in Princess Street in Edinburgh on a corner, a place called St James's Centre, a shopping place that had a phone box there. It's no longer there for reasons, obviously, and she called the police and said, well, the authorities, and says, I need the police, and I need help, somebody needs to help me. And seemingly they said, what's wrong with you? I think I'm going to kill myself. And they said, why don't you just go home, you know, this isn't going to happen. They didn't believe her, you know, and she says, look, I've got a razor blade, I'm going to cut my wrists. And if you don't get here right now, I'm going to do it. And then seemingly they just said, look, we're going to hang the phone up on you, and they hung up on her seemingly. And then she phoned them back, and she said, I told you I was going to do this, and you're not listening to me. Look, we get callers like you all the time. And she says, here is where I am. She says, we've traced the call box, but we're not sending anybody out because they just thought she was crazy. And then she ended up cutting both wrists. And she was bleeding out profusively. And she says, do you believe me now? I've cut both my wrists. And they said, well, we're not... What do you want us to do? We've got more time than wasting our time with you, seemingly. There was all this sort of carry on back and forth. And she said, well, if you're not going to come in, she took you.
Take your time, Craig. It's all right.
Well, I never realised how hard it still was to talk about that, but she took the razor blade and she went from one end to the other and cut her whole throat open, and she died in that phone box, falling out it. The blood, I'm never normally going to details, but it annoys me because they never listened to her, and the blood went right down the hill out that phone box, and she lied there, you know, dying on her own.
Oh dear.
And that killed me.
I bet that was a lot for you to handle, and this is all because someone didn't take her seriously.
Yeah.
You know, they
Yeah.
didn't listen to her. They
Yeah.
just thought she was like everybody else and a bit crazy.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why she felt alone.
Yes.
And you know, obviously really depressed.
Yeah.
And no one ever knows what people are going through in their minds. They can smile through it, but
Yeah,
deep
yeah.
down inside, you know what it's like, Debs?
Yes,
You
yes.
know, it can be that sort of, no one's listening, no one really
Yeah.
cares. I just might as well end it all now. And of
Yeah.
course, you must have. God knows how you felt about it
Yeah,
and how it
well,
made you feel inside.
It was, we were ready to go into the shops and shop, and I did shop after it, but I said, why did you tell me that? And she said, well, just in case I never see you again, I had to tell you anyway. And then I was riled about why nobody could find me about even the funeral or anything. Because me and Sandra, we got in a house in Fire the Cake. She came to our wedding. She helped us in music. She put us on a stage. She worked with student universities, put us on a stage well before we were even on singing on TV or on reality TV shows. And we're in the same area as you, Stevie.
Yeah.
And basically, I needed to know why nobody. And it ate me for weeks and weeks. I had nightmares about her doing this. You know, I envisioned it. I seen it in my own mind's eye, and then I didn't realise about the whole mental health thing at that time. But then I realised it was hitting my mental health, and it was bringing me downhill. I think I was drinking a bit.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
Maybe
It's all right. It's all right. Take your time, man. It's all good. It's all good. Let it all out. It's best to let
Yeah.
everything out because then you know, you release everything. I'm going to give you a little break.
Yeah,
I'm going to come
of
to your
course.
amazing,
Yeah, do that,
beautiful
do that,
wife,
mate.
Debs here.
Yeah.
Debs, obviously you've been together with Craig for many, many years. You're
Years.
married. You're a joint thing. You know, you are one, and you're in the same business as me.
Yes.
You know, obviously you've seen Craig go through all this.
Yes.
How did it make you feel? And you know, how did it make you feel inside? How did you help Craig?
Well, I helped Craig in a way, like I gave him a shoulder to cry on and things like that, and let him talk away and let him cry. I think that was the best release that I could give him, you know, like just talk about her,
Yeah.
you know, get the wedding photos out and just talk about how we had a great day with Sandra and all the good memories that we had,
Yeah.
which we did. But I mean, I feel that Sandra must have been pretty desperate to have done such a thing like that, you know,
Of course.
that it takes your, it blows your mind actually. How could someone do that, you know?
Yeah.
It's scary stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, mentally it affected Craig inside, you know, he went downhill a bit, he started drinking, and it was really kind of a bad phase that he was going through inside.
And you saw all this.
I saw all this, and I mean, he was having a drink, but to the point that he couldn't remember what he was doing at the end of the night. You know, like
Wow.
he just slept on the sofa, just we were
Wow.
having a drink, and that was the only way that he could get through things. You know, just talking, and that was his comforter. You could say it was a drink at that moment. But you know, like everything else, you do come through the other end, and you do see the light. And it sort of coming off the drink was a good thing, I thought. You know, because only drink makes you more depressed. You know.
Of course, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I saw in Craig. You know,
But it must have affected you as well, you know, mentally as well, seeing, you know, your own husband go through such a really kind of hard, depressing time, drinking every night, you know, sleeping on the sofa when you know, you sleep in the same bed, you know, it must have affected you and yourself and mental health, didn't it?
Yes, because some nights when he was drinking and he fell asleep, I had to just leave him there on the sofa. He couldn't even make it through to the room to go to his bed.
Oh
it was,
my gosh,
it was a real shame to see him because it was a real mess, you know, inside. But myself, I knew that I had to stay strong, you know, for him, which I did. And thank goodness, you know, I did feel really like I wanted to cry, and it wouldn't have helped Craig any if I had sat there crying. You know, so I just let him do what he needed to do at that time.
To get through it.
Yes, to get through the whole thing.
And you were like the glue in the relationship. You held it together. You were the strongest out of the both. No disrespect to you,
of
Craig.
course,
you know, and
you're right.
she kept you, you know, kind of on that path of getting out of that dark place and giving you her full support.
Yes, which I did, and he's thankful to this day that, you know, I didn't crumble the way he did, because that would have been a really lonely road for two of us to go down, you know, if we were both doing the same thing.
Yeah, a double whammy.
You know, yes.
I look at it now that Sandra looks down from wherever she is up in the spiritual realm or the heavens above. She'd be looking down and she'd be saying, I'm proud of you now, brother, but, you know, she would never have wanted me to go downhill like that. She would want me to get on with my life. You know, she took that turn. It's a point of no returning back, no turning back, and it's a serious thing. I mean, I've heard of other people that I know that have took their lives with mental health, which I'll talk about in another show if we do that. And these were serious as well, but this was, you know, hanging yourself. But this was different from that. This was actually taking a razor blade, cutting your wrists, and then, because you're still not getting any help, you're taking your own throat out, your jugular, everything. You know, and she left behind a small boy as well, you know. But it all goes down to, you know, families when they lose touch, and it sort of annoys me that we done that. It's nobody's fault, of course, but then I took the blame for that as well. If we stayed in touch, or if she stayed in touch, is it my fault? Is it my fault? But now I look at things, and I'd like to offer help, assistance, even with kind words, to say, if you're going through that and you're losing family members, tell the people that you love them.
You're not alone, sort of thing.
Obviously
you've experienced it. You saw it first hand, you know. So
it's not a pretty sight, no. When someone's going through
your
much.
ultimate loved one.
Yeah, you know. He had the whole world on his shoulders. I felt you were not coping very well.
No, it just crashed, and at the back of that, then the COVID thing happened, and that depressed me even more. So that was worse. But then, when we done our TV show, Moorish TV, we done that. That gave me something to work on, because some of the artists that were on that, Sandra loved music. She would have loved what we're doing, and we helped a lot of bands that says what we're going to do. We're struggling through mental health. Some people were seriously ill mentally and says I can no longer live. They survived to this day, and one of them even done a what do you call it? The artist that comes on before the band again. What do you call it?
Oh, like
support
act.
Yeah, for Tinchy Strider. One of them done Tinchy Strider after being on Moorish TV. So it shows you that shows like this is a brilliant show. This is a great show, and I think that Sandra would look down and she'd be proud of what we're doing right now. And she was a big X Factor fan, by the way, so she would have loved you.
Thank you, Sandra.
But most importantly is that you can come out of this yourself. If you go through something like this, I went through a hell of a time.
Craig, can I ask, how long, if you don't mind me asking as well, like, but both of you actually, how long were you stuck in that depression mode for? Was it a year, 6 months? Was it?
No.
How long was that sort of mental health?
I would say, well, possibly around about 6 months to start with, because it was pre-COVID. This was 2019, before the 2020 lockdown thing. So it was right before that, and I was starting to come out of it. But the depression that I had after that was not so much of what happened to Sandra, but it's now what's happening to me. Now my life's been stopped. I can't do music, I can't do TV work, I can't do a thing, because it made it sound like we were finished. So that's how I felt, and that depressed me as well. So I had another, I think, 6 months on top of that. So probably all in all, 8 months to a year of this depression thing, you know, and I was on the antidepressants for a while, and then I suffered from severe anxiety as well.
I know about
that. So I took meds for that, and I still take those. But I can go on a stage and I can sit with you and people like that.
Yeah.
But as soon as a situation you don't want to be involved in, I can panic. So I have to take these tablets beforehand, and I'm all right. You know, it's all under order, sort of thing.
Well, when I saw you out there earlier, like both of you, you just wouldn't think it.
No.
That you both went through such a depressing time and a big thing, and you know, you're bubbly, you're upbeat, you're uplifting. I felt your vibe. It was an amazing vibe.
Course,
But then to hear this, I mean, because I'm quite shocked. You know, obviously that voice note you don't hear much, but I'm quite shocked at what you've just said. And you know, it's like it's mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is.
And now you sit here today, and obviously you're telling your sides of the story to anyone out there sort of suffering as well. I mean, these two are first-hand, they know all about it.
Yeah.
You know, Deb, I want to sort of ask you a question, actually.
Yes.
So when Craig was going through all this kind of depression, he said 8 to 10 months.
Yes.
Were you following with him for that 8 to 10 months as well? Did it affect your lifestyle, your work, you know, everything, even like family life?
Yes, basically I was finding that, you know, he wasn't speaking too much to me. He was always in thought about his sister, and it's just one of these phases you just have to let it go and ride it out, you know, and you'll reach the other end. So that's what basically happened, but I had to do the journey with him, if you know what I mean. That I didn't want to lose my husband to grief,
no,
you know.
no.
But it turned out that you know, these things, it's always there, Craig, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I believe that.
it's just, you just have to just basically let it go and talk about things.
Yeah.
I feel that people who are going through depression must actually speak about things, and that's the way to let
See,
it
that's
go.
one-
I see in your face right now, there's that, like, how much, you know, I could see that kind of that
emotion,
those emotions behind your eyes. I can just see it right there through what you know Craig was going through. I can feel it as well. It's almost like the vibe, you know. So but you know what? You had each other. So can I just ask, are you both now in a good happy place? Or are you, you know, are you? I mean, you seem out there like you were. Things are going well for you. You've got another TV thing you're doing. So I cannot wait to watch.
We're
by the way,
in a good place.
So you're in an amazing place.
Doing
say
some
so,
TV
yes.
stuff, which we'll let everybody know in due course, and this should help people who struggle through mental health as well. Because if we can do it, and if Stevie can do it, you can do it as well. You can get out. You can. If you're not an entertainer, it doesn't matter. It just matters if you've got it up there to say to somebody, you know, if you need help, I'm here.
That's perfect. Have you got any like final things you want to sort of say to me or to the viewers? You know, because obviously this journey for both of you is, I mean, I'm still a little bit shocked actually. That's why I'm trying to sort of, you know, stay ahead of the game. But you too, it's really shocked me. Have you got sort of anything you want to add or say? You know,
do you want to add something and then I'll do it?
I just think that always say I love you to your loved ones.
Absolutely.
Always say that because you don't know when you're going to kind of see them next time.
Yeah.
That's it.
And from me, I would say, remember there's someone out there for everybody. There's always an ear there that will listen, and you are the mouth that can speak. So work them together, they'll gel together, and you can make things happen. Good things can overcome mental health. For us, Sapphire, or Debbie, and Stevie as well, you know, we've all been there. Your journey can end, and it can end by speaking out.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. My name has been Stevie Ritchie, and I've been joined by two amazing guests, Craig and Debs, aka Zed and Sapphire. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves, and don't forget, you are not alone. Please do speak out. Stay tuned for the next bit. I'll see you soon.
By the lovely Anna Story, a mental health specialist. So Anna, do you feel like there's a mental health crisis in this country?
Well, I think there is. Yeah, I definitely think there is. Just by the sheer number of people who are looking for help.
Increase in your clients, for example?
Yeah, just increased, I don't know, 10-fold, 20-fold. Yeah.
And do you feel like we're dealing with it in the right way?
No, I don't think we are. I mean, there are facilities at unis, there are more schools which employ counsellors, so that's all better. But unless you can pay privately, then unfortunately you can't find the counsellor. You have to wait for months and months and months, which is ridiculous and it could be dangerous.
So as a mental health specialist, you're seeing an increase in your clients and in your patients, just not enough resources for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I know people who can't find a counsellor, and when they can pay, they keep looking and they keep waiting, and they still don't find one.
Perhaps there needs to be more done in terms of training up new therapists and new mental health specialists. Do you think that's an area as well that needs to be looked at?
Well, I think there are enough specialists, like BACP has many members, but for example, NHS is mostly employing CBT therapists, so they probably should be more inclusive and embrace all sorts of other modalities, rather than just say we only use that. And that would be massively helpful.
So kind of a broader approach
Yeah.
to mental health therapy.
Yeah.
You touched upon, you mentioned CBT there.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that means and maybe different approaches that therapists try in their
Well,
practice?
I'm not CBT therapist myself, but CBT is more directive therapy, which is addressing your behavior, how you do things, and you get homework to do and to change your behavior.
Right.
So it's kind of short term, usually.
Okay.
And there are approaches which might take years, and you delve really deep into your unconscious, and you have to work really hard and remember things. And
Okay.
it takes a lot of time and effort. Also, there is coaching, which is again more directives. There is homework. It's more
When you say
short
homework,
term.
do you mean like going home and sort of
Yeah,
journaling your
yeah,
emotions?
you have certain exercises to do, and journaling is generally a good thing, and you can just do it yourself. And lots of therapists advise clients to do that.
Yeah, it's a really great way to kind of get your feelings out on
Yeah.
paper.
Yeah, but there are all sorts of modalities. So if you're looking for therapists, probably just go and see different ones and see which one you prefer, which one is for you.
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we're
Yeah.
all very different. We all have
Exactly,
different
yeah.
personalities. We all come with different traumas. So it's really important we find the therapist that sort of works.
Yeah,
For
and
us.
therapists should work for you. You
Yeah.
should like therapists.
Yeah.
If you come and see a therapist and you don't like him or her, don't try hard to and try to like him,
Yeah.
because there is no point. Just go and see somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Absolutely. Otherwise, you might feel like you're not getting anywhere.
Yeah,
Where in fact,
Yeah.
it's not you. It's just you need a different approach.
Exactly,
You need to try something
yeah.
new. Absolutely, that's brilliant. As a mental health specialist and someone who takes on a lot of perhaps trauma, how do you cope? How do you deal with the things that you hear and the things that you have to listen to? How do you look after your mental health?
well, that's very important questions, because quite a few training institutions which train therapists are not really teaching therapists how to look after themselves, and that leads to burnouts and therapists dropping out of profession. So obviously we have supervision, so you talk to your supervisor once a month, which is great, but sometimes it's just not enough, so you have to be able to monitor yourself, and if you feel like you don't really want to see clients at all, or like you feel really bad after each session and clients really get to you, you keep thinking about your work, you probably need to stop and just have some therapy yourself,
Yeah.
which I do from time to time, and it's extremely useful, and not with the same therapist, I sometimes change modalities, and just look after yourself, do
Yeah.
things you like, and
Yeah.
see your friends, and
Absolutely.
not just be focused on your work and
Yeah.
just stuck in it.
I think that's really important. Really simple advice, like you said.
Yeah.
Do things that you enjoy, socialise,
Yeah.
spend time with the people you love, people
Yeah,
that love you.
totally,
That's
yeah.
really key, you know. And you have to look after yourself. You're looking
Yeah.
after us, you need to look
Yeah,
after yourself.
otherwise you can't. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't be the helper who can't help yourself. Yeah.
For those out there who might be struggling with their mental health for any reason, thinking about therapy or not so sure, what's your advice for them?
But I think it's important to have people around with whom you can share your concerns. Sometimes you don't. If you do, it's great to even talk to your friend, but sometimes you don't want to burden your nearest and dearest, or they can give you advice with really wishing the best for you, but that might not be quite the right advice. So it is good to go and see a therapist, just to get somebody neutral to listen to you, to maybe tell you some things that family member wouldn't tell you,
Absolutely.
not wanting to upset you or
Absolutely.
whatever reason.
Yeah.
So that would be great. So just give it a try. You can have one session. If you don't like it, stop.
Yeah, sometimes your friends and family, they don't want to tell you everything. You know, they don't want to
Yeah.
hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
great that you have a mental health professional like yourself
Yeah.
who can step in, who can bring that kind of objectivity, that neutrality
Yeah.
to the situation, and
Yeah,
you know something.
exactly. And somebody new. that
somebody
you
new
don't
to the
know,
situation.
Don't have history with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It brings a very healthy dynamic to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant advice. What's the future for mental health, in your opinion? How can we move forward and get better at looking after ourselves and looking after our mental health?
Well, I think the whole dynamic of people talking about mental health is great.
Yeah,
And that it's becoming normalized. That it should be part of our life. That
Absolutely.
we all have some form of therapy, maybe short term, maybe there's plenty of it online now, and it's more affordable. That would be great. And there are different ways of therapy being developed. So that I think that should become our norm, and then everybody can kind of almost learn about it at schools, like how we
Absolutely.
work, why do we react to things the way we do, and then we'll be much better dealing with our emotions.
Absolutely. Understanding our emotions and dealing
Yeah.
with them better. Brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant advice. And I don't think I could do what you do. That's fantastic. Really, thank you for coming onto the show and joining us for your advice.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. Yeah, thank you for having me.